Hi there, I'm Dr. Kate Boyd from ThePianoProf, and this is the first video in my 5-part series on an introduction to my teaching. In these videos, I'm going through 5 core principles that motivate me as a musician, a pianist, and a teacher. Today, I'm going to talk about experiencing ease at the piano. Developing more ease at the piano is one of the most important things you can do because it impacts absolutely everything that you do at the instrument. So first, let's start off with a definition of what I even mean by the word ease. The dictionary defines ease as a state of being comfortable and free from difficulty. It's also helpful to remember that the opposite of ease is struggle. The reason this is one of my core principles and at the heart of my own playing and teaching is because I have experienced both ease and struggle in my own playing, and I've also seen it in my students. I used to struggle quite a bit in the practice room and then wonder why my performances were always so stressful. And I can guarantee you, if you are struggling in the practice room and everything takes a lot of effort, it's also going to be a struggle for you in performances. You can tell you're struggling when you feel emotionally exhausted after a practice session or when you have a lot of negativity going on in your brain while you're practicing, which can take the form of overly self-critical thoughts or feelings of frustration. Ultimately, developing ease is about cultivating a feeling of self-awareness. At the instrument, you're going to want to find ways to avoid struggle and seek out ease. You can do this by checking in with yourself while you're practicing. Start to notice this contrast between struggle and ease. Get in the habit of asking yourself at the end of a practice session how much you struggled and try to pinpoint those moments of ease you experienced. Consciously working on this and trying to expand the experiences of ease and learning to adjust your approach when you notice struggle will create dramatic shifts in your playing over time. Here are some of my thoughts for you today on how to experience more ease while you're at the piano. I'm going to talk about 3 areas where you can apply this: technique, practicing, and performing. In the area of technique, the #1 goal we're after here is to play with natural, fluid motions. Playing the piano should mirror the way that you physically approach other tasks in your life. When you walk around, for example, your hands hang at your sides. You don't make a claw with your fingers. When you grasp a pen or a pencil, your fingers intuitively know just the right amount of tension to hold it with. So you don't grip it so hard that it breaks, and you also don't hold it so loosely that it just falls out of your hand. So when you practice, look for tension. How do your fingers, hands, wrists, and arms look? How about your shoulders? Are they hunched or are they loose? If it looks tight, it probably is. This might seem somewhat obvious to you, but in the practice room, it is absolutely possible to lose awareness of this fundamental question. If playing the piano feels uncomfortable, it's a sign that you need to examine what you're doing technically and make an adjustment. And cueing into your own body and noticing discomfort is a very important part of that process. Don't worry if you don't know exactly what to adjust, because your body will give you feedback on whether something's healthy or not. And as you increase your self-awareness, you can experiment to feel what is right in your own body. One important note about physical pain is that you need to take pain or strong physical discomfort as a sign to re-examine your approach. The term no pain, no gain does not apply to playing the piano. It's a sign that you need to find another way. Never push through pain because it can and often does lead to injury. The second area where you can work on developing increased feelings of ease is practicing. As I said before, ease is largely linked to increased self-awareness. So you can cultivate self-awareness while you practice by listening ahead and by thinking ahead. Listening ahead involves imagining the sound before you produce it. This is what I like to call pre-listening. You want to start developing this ability to imagine the notes you're about to play while simultaneously listening to the current notes you are playing. I know this might sound complicated and maybe your head just exploded a little bit when I said this, but think about it. We do this all the time while we're speaking. For example, while I'm talking to you right now, I'm not only aware of the specific syllable that is literally coming out of my mouth at a given moment, but I'm also imagining a couple of words ahead of myself because my brain has to have a sense of how the sentence is going to end. If I didn't have the ability to plan ahead while I speak, then it would be impossible to form a coherent thought. You can do this in music by listening ahead to the next part of the phrase while you're playing. Your inner ear should actually be at least a few notes ahead of where you're currently playing. Thinking ahead is the process of planning where your hands are going before you play. So when you're playing a given note, much like listening ahead, you'll be tactically anticipating where the next few notes are and getting your hands and fingers positioned so they'll be over the right notes in time. So try listening and thinking ahead every time you practice. Over time, this will transform your practicing and contribute to feelings of ease because your mind will be trained to be ahead of where you are in the music. And finally, I'm going to talk about developing ease while performing. One thing to keep in mind here is that a performance should be a celebration of all of your hard work and an opportunity to connect with the audience. A performance should not be a traumatic experience or a huge emotional struggle. Of course, it's totally normal to experience performance anxiety. Nearly every performance, including myself, does experience this, and there are a lot of tools you can learn to help address this. I'm going to be talking about this in some of my future videos. But for today, I will tell you that you can cultivate more ease in your performing and set yourself up for success by practicing performing. When I was a student, I had an amazing opportunity, and that was traveling to Prussia Cove in England to a beautiful rambling estate in Cornwall for a series of residential masterclasses. While I was there, I worked with a great teacher, Georgi Shebuk, who said in a masterclass, "Practicing is practicing practicing. Performing is practicing performing." In other words, in order to find ease while performing, you need to practice performing just like you'd practice any other skill. The best way to do this is get in the habit of doing run-throughs. A run-through is when you decide ahead of time that you're going to play through your piece from the beginning to the end as if it's a performance, no matter what. Even if you get lost, or if you forget how it goes, or if you sneeze, or if your dog barks, or if you make a huge giant mistake. Keep going all the way to the end. And then afterwards, you can evaluate it and use what you learn in your next practice sessions. I've found that it works best to schedule a run-through ahead of time, even if it's only a few hours, so you can anticipate it just like a performance. I recommend doing run-throughs in increasing orders of difficulty. So you can start off by doing a run-through just for yourself, and then when you're ready, you can do a run-through for your friends or your family. You can do a run-through or a preparatory performance online by doing it live, or you can pre-record it on your phone and upload it. If you have a teacher, you can treat a run-through in your lesson as a performance of its own. By doing this, you'll be practicing performing so that by the time you actually do have that big performance, you'll experience much more ease around it. So those are some of my thoughts on cultivating ease at the piano. This is a really important skill and something you can continue to develop over time. Remember, you shouldn't be struggling all the time. If something feels too effortful, change something you're doing. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please be sure to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any of my upcoming videos. Let me know some ways you experience ease at the piano in the comments below. Happy practicing!